Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander. That is Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we're looking at play a props here for you on a Friday to end the work week in the NBA. Decent sized slate after a Thursday night that Nate and I went 4-2 on these play a props, up 0.3 units on the night there. Fine with it. You know, we continue to roll along on the season on play a props, up 3.3 units, 21-14. So we're doing the work. Got to find some more juice where we can. Either way, feeling good as we move into the weekend here with you guys. We also have a best bets video up for you as we're bringing you each and every weekday this season. So head over there and check that out as well. Subscribe to the page so you don't miss anything with us this season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Check out the great written content that we put up on the site right now. And use that odds finder tool that I'm always talking about. It's a nice prop finder. You can make sure that you're getting the best odds available to you from all of these books giving us props this season. Nate, let's run right into your first NBA player prop for today.
Yeah, and we should mention it's the first night of the in-season tournament, and that me and Josh both sprinkled a little bit on Celtics to win that tournament. It's 9-1 still, a little bit lower on some books since they clearly look like the best team right now. So you might as well go Tatum 13-1 to win the MVP of this in-season tournament. You know, Tatum a monster in knockout formats, except for the finals. Maybe the Celtics treat this as, sort of a warm-up for getting ready for the actual postseason, and he tries to, like, take over in this new format. But what I'm looking at here for the first pick...
They'd have to... I was just going to say, in order to accurately simulate this, they're going to need Porzingis to maybe not be super healthy either,
Look, man, injury prone, injury schmoan. You're only injury prone until you actually stay upright and have something to play for, and you're not on some defunct franchise with Jimmy Dolan as the owner. Don't get me started on that. All right. Getting into the picks for tonight, November 3rd. Jeremy Grant under 20.5 points is about even money, and under 1.5 threes is plus 135. So I was interested in that. Put a little bit down right away because that just seems like, I mean, pretty likely. I know he takes quite a few threes, but he's shooting 23% from in his last 4 meetings against Memphis from three, shooting 24% on the season from three. So I with Jaren Jackson Jr. probably lining up against him, Defensive Player of the Year favorite. Xavier Tillman, etc. should be on Ayton, right? So you got a true power forward matchup across the way. Memphis was 12th in terms of limiting power forwards last season. Probably would be better if Triple J was the primary defender on that guy. Jeremy in his career, just 12 points per game against Memphis. Sure, some of that was when he was still a low usage player. Since 2019, he's averaging 16 against them on a 22% usage rate. Averaged just under 2 threes per game. But that's skewed because he went 6 for 9 in one game with Denver back in 2019. And since then, like I'm saying, 23% against Memphis his last 4, hitting just 6 threes in 4 games. Points-wise, I mean, he averaged 15 points per game his first 3 this season. Now his number's up a little bit because he was able to drop 23 against Toronto and Detroit. But yeah, he has not been playing particularly well in this iteration of the Blazers. He doesn't really want to play the 4, I don't think. I think he wants to be more of a 3, use that size that quickness mismatch. And he's playing a guy who's quick and long in Triple J. And the Grizzlies can also bring big body Roddy off the bench to knock him around a little bit. So I just don't think it's going to be an easy time for Jeremy Grant, and I like the under for this game in general.
You know how to grab my attention when you talk about big body Roddy. Now more with disappointment, to be honest. I thought he was going to be better. But at any rate, I would agree with an under for Jeremy Grant right now when you throw the points out there like that in a game where we're both like, this is going to be way closer to 100 than it is to 120 for both of these teams in either scoring, in either part of the box score. Like neither of these teams are going to get into the like 110s in my opinion, to be honest. So I think it's a good under, like you spoke about in the best bets. And as a result, 20.5 points for Jeremy Grant, a situation that, you laid it out perfectly for how it'll probably play out. even if Steven Adams was in there, might be a little bit helpful. But Jeremy Grant's not really trying to get down there and bang too often anyway. So I would ride with you on this one. Speaking of banging, though, I am going to take Mitch Robb and my guy, the center for the New York Knicks here. Over 8.5 boards, you can still grab it. Minus 135 on DraftKings. You got to eat the juice on it. It opened up a little bit closer to even money, but still a full unit on him to go over 8 boards, which he did twice last season. The 3 matchups between these teams, he got 20 in one of them, 9 in another, 8 in the third. So I think this is still adequately valued for us to take an over on his 8.5 boards. Once you get into the double digits, it's like maybe it's a little bit more of a toss up. Obviously, you're talking about a couple big bodies down low that can bang with Mitch Robb between he and Giannis. But this season, the Bucks are 24th in rebound percentage overall. Mitch Robb, we know what he's been doing on a tear, and the 8.5 boards has been a nice over for him this season for the most part in each of these games. So I think there's something, the idea of minutes. It's really what it comes down to. The in one of the games last year versus the Bucks, he had 5 personal fouls, really couldn't stay in the game very much more than the 22 minutes that he played. Not that they wouldn't have wanted him out there. This is a situation where I spoke about the Knicks in the best bets video, laying out why we both actually really like them to be able to cover a spread that's too large and predicated on the idea of Bucks very good and Knicks like mediocre. I think that perception is really permeating this entire line that they have at 6.5, and when you can get it, still 5.5 in a lot of places as well, depending on how much juice you want to eat. I'm happy with the 6.5. It feels like just such a wrong number for the Bucks to have to win by 7. And I think Mitchell Robinson keeping this team off of the offensive boards is going to be a big part of that. Brook Lopez can try to pull him out, has not been as consistent from 3 this season, and honestly hasn't been able to stay on the court quite as much. And you throw Robin Lopez in there as well, and Bobby Porter's probably a little too small for Mitch Robin. Then, like I said, even Robin Lopez, who is almost as big as his brother Brook, just not quite there either, and has waned even more so than Brook has at this point. So they're still figuring things out. There's going to be some shot opportunities. I think Milwaukee's going to continue to play fast in the top 10 in pace. They're going to continue to chuck up a lot of shots and give him a lot of opportunities to eat. So as long as he stays out of foul trouble, which I don't think will be a problem, for the most part, he did that last season, except for one game, then I think he's good for the 9 boards here.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet mostly because of game state. Because the Knicks, they've gone under in 4 of 5 games here, except for that ridiculous one against Atlanta. There've been like 50 rebounding opportunities for them in their last 3, and I mean he's obviously the biggest body on the floor for them. With Thibodeau calling that defense, there should be rebounding opportunities, and he'll gobble them up. So I think we're both looking at OKC for some props, trying to fill the void with SGA out. I'm going to take Lou Dort, 7 rebounds and assists. Again, trying to grab the plus money here. 13.5 points is also favorable, but I just don't know if he's out there to create shots. It's sort of dependent on whether they're Giddey and Jalen Williams are going to play make and find him. So I'm not really trying to lean on that as much. I'm just going to try to bank on him playing like 35 minutes, guarding the Warriors' wings like he has, which has led to him scoring 17 points per game his last 6 versus them. And without SGA, the last 20 games for him, 19.5 points per game, just 4.5 rebounds, 15 plus points at home in 12 of the 13 home games there, 15 plus points. So, I mean, the points are I think you can split your unit between these two however you want. I feel just like a little better with the plus money on the rebounds. Dort has been boarding up a little more this year. The Warriors will play small lineups, force him to be the bigger guy down there, right? Be a big 3 or even a 4 perhaps at times if you want to consider him interchangeable. I mean, he was guarding Zion the other night. Like, he might be out there matching up with Draymond if that's how they want to play it. And then, Draymond will drift off him and give him opportunities to score. So it should be a good game state. I mean, OKC 121 a game at home last year versus 114 on the road. And it's a stars out, maybe bets up situation. Well, I mean, I'm staying away from it because the Warriors have been like boom bust. I mean, mostly boom this year in terms of Steph just like cooking. But I mean, OKC plus 6 at home without their best player, sure, but they still have plenty of weapons.
Yeah. I mean, Lou Dort is going to play. He's probably chasing Steph around, to be honest. I know he can switch on and off, but like he's on the court for these games. 36 minutes in each of the 2 games that he played against the Dubs last season. And he's always out there because you know why? He needs to put Steph in the torture chamber, which is your moniker, which I can't believe you didn't come up with because it's brilliant. But I love it. And I'm going to keep using it. And it's relevant here because, like I said, he needs to be on the floor for defense. And that has led to him getting the usage in those games where he scored an average of now 17 and a half like in last year versus them, like you mentioned. So this is going to be another really solid opportunity with that usage going up for him. And my buddy, Jalen Williams, who is my second play a prop pick here, J Will, over 19 and a half. Is he J Dub or J Will? I'm going to get someone in the comments. Please let me know. They corrected me last time and I said it wrong. I think he might be J Dub. Either way, he's Jalen Williams without the Y, over 19 and a half points. You can also take the points and assists because he dimes up. You know, you mentioned Lou Dort assists not being really appetizing because that's not what he's out there to do. And I fully agree. But Jalen Williams does take on that role. And I think it's interesting because Giddey doesn't change his stats with or without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the lineup. And Nate and I I feel like are always looking for that in player props. It's one of our favorite ways to find value is, starter is out, backup is very good, and that person's stats rise way above what his prop has remained at, despite the fact that the starter's not in there. And Josh Giddey, the fact that the Thunder are pretty much even in terms of record last season with or without their best player on offense is because of the fact that they have two guys in the sense of Jay Will and to a degree Lou Dort who come in and kind of do what Shai does, who's as good of a passer as he can be, isn't looking to pass. He's looking to get his shot or have cutters come to the basket off of him like the very tall point guard in Josh Giddey. All of this is to say Jalen Williams is going to be primarily that guy in this game in terms of, okay, it's your ball to go into the paint and create and do what you will from there. Kick it out to guys like Lou Dort and Josh Giddey, who keeps getting better from 3, or lob it up to other Jay Will, who I think is actually out tonight, but plenty of other bigs like Chet out there now as well. So without Shai last season, he went up to 21 points a game. And he was averaging 15 and a half when Shai's in there. That's in a 15-game sample size. That's a very good sample size to go, right, okay, you're right. You're just you insert Jay Will into scorer and bruiser, get to the basket, get to the free throw line, and assists. He goes up from 2.5 assists a game with Shai in the lineup to 6, 5.8 without Shai in there. So it's like the points and assists are still good for me too. This is going to be another game where he's needed to play defense. He's needed to be the primary scorer. Last year, these two teams, when they played, averaged a ton of points, nearly 240 every time that they play. Actually, more than that. I'm sorry. Yeah, they averaged more than 240. They averaged nearly 260. It was like 250 almost. So this was a crazy matchup consistently last season. And even for the last 2 seasons, it's consistently 120-something to 120-something. So I'm very comfortable with stats and overs in this one for a bunch of guys.
Yeah, the books seem to be wise to this trend. I was opening this seeing like, oh, he's still gonna be like 16 and a half, right? And where I'm gonna be all over that pick, but no, he is at 20 where he's expected to be without SGA. Still, yeah, if you think the Thunder are gonna cover, they're gonna need 20 points from J-Dub. So I would probably parlay that together if you're gonna take Thunder +6 in some way with some player performance doubles, basically with Jalen. Maybe with Chet Holmgren to have some success. He's only at 14.5 points and has been a pretty good offensive weapon for them.
Yeah, I like the Chet pick as well. I was looking at that, and so I'm going to ride on that one, I think, in a little bit. But I was just looking at these other ones to make sure we got them in for the video, to be fully honest with you. But yeah, just for those out there, follow along on Twitter because that's where we're also talking about stuff throughout the day after we record these videos for you. So that is all the time we have in the Play Up Props one. Continue to follow along. Also, check out the best bets. We are continuing to make money out here this year so far in the early NBA season. And have a great weekend. Best of luck. And until we talk to you next, happy betting.